Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Wandance Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So now that they've finished training with the basics, now it's on to perfecting the choreography for the upcoming contest. I think it's interesting. I think they're doing planks, but I think so, because they weren't doing any movement. They were just holding it. But I love that you turn and you see Wanda struggling a little bit, because I think she probably on like the muscle front isn't the strongest. Heck, I'd be struggling too. I think Cabo obviously has the benefit of, the sports background helping with some of his physicality, but also it doesn't change the fact is that her body type obviously fits like what she's trying to accomplish, but I'm just saying she probably doesn't I think they referenced that maybe in episode 2 or even 3 about her because I think I even been in episode 1 where she was doing some workouts and she was struggling, so she's not the best on the strength side of things. So I think that is something they've established. So but either way, this episode also pretty heavily revolves around Yura Nikami. Obviously, she's kind of come from the perspective of she thinks of herself amongst at least the first years that she's the best dancer because she's got the choreography memorized and she can hit every movement precisely. But we find out why she's kind of she's trying to figure out why she wasn't chosen, because there was only 3 spots for the first years and she wasn't chosen. And she ends up talking to Meow later on, why was I not chosen? It's right, you're very good at the dance and stuff like that, because Meow was it's not just my sole decision. I talked with, was it Shiki, the vice president, our teacher, our club advisor, and the third years are also involved in that decision making, and it's because I think Yura was under the impression it was solely Meow's decision. So it's there's a lot that goes into it, and they bring up yes, she's good at she has this, and this, but Yura kind of realizes right. Because I think I'm all over the place. Sorry, Meow was saying you're very good at copying my moves, and she's I'm very flattered by that. But I think it's almost a situation of and this was my thinking where I thought they were going to take Yura's story, and maybe this does kind of apply here as well. Was still the whole, because she's so precise, she's not very loose with the dancing, and I feel being so precise is very restricting in some aspects of the dance. That's how I would interpret it. So I thought that'd be her issue. It still kind of is, because that kind of plays into something she discovers about herself later. But it was an interesting thing where Yura was right, people have always told me I'm precise and that I can move well, but she's I've never heard anyone actually tell me I'm a good dancer. And so Meow told her basically find someone who was a dancer that you like and kind of watch them for a little bit, and that'll probably give you some insight to your own dance style and stuff. And so ultimately she ends up watching Wanda, and she kind of recognizes Wanda's movements, and it's just she's captivated just like Cabo is. And so it's because there's a recurring thing that happens in this episode where Wanda, while she's dancing during the choreography, she's mumbling something to herself, and it's not until Cabo points it out later on. He's oh, I kind of didn't get it at first, but he's now I do. He's in the background of a song, there's a certain thing in the rhythm that in the background of it, I don't know if I think it's part of the rhythm of Wanda is locked into that, and that's what she's doing. That's her keeping pace with the rhythm, but it's something she's tuned into in the background of the music, which I think that might kind of be Wanda's uniqueness, where once again Cabo had his rhythm thing of just kind of comparing it to the bouncing of a basketball, and I think maybe Wanda found the thing that she kind of clicked onto, and for her it's listening to this very specific thing that's where her ears are tuned to and her movements are kind of tuned to. I think is kind of how you interpret that. And so Yura's kind of okay, would you mind showing me a video of her dancing? And he brings that up to Wanda, and Wanda's hey, what if we all dance together and kind of record ourselves? So, and they ultimately do, and playing back both Yura and Cabo, and I think even Wanda herself all get something from it. Yura learns and looks, and she's oh, Cabo and Wanda are both pausing, and she realizes I never do that. I keep going through, and she's right. She's like, I'm rushing, aren't I? And Wanda says, yeah, you are. But she's like, but also, she's like, I can also see like this spirit behind your dancing. So don't kind of like, yeah, there's this one thing, sure, but don't let that take away from like, I can tell like how much work and spirit you're putting into your dance. And even Cabo's realizing like, whoa, that's me. Because he's still, this is his first time actively seeing himself dance. He's only been doing it, but he's never like actively seen it. And it, I think, helps a lead because he was wincing a little bit until he finally looked at it. He's like, whoa, that's me. It's like, that's totally not from like the same as the junior high, a middle school situation. It's like, yeah, he was so, I combined junior high and middle school there, sorry. But it made him, I think, helped him a little past his, PTSD in that regard. And even Wanda being like, oh my God, like her eyes lighting up, being like, oh, humans are so amazing. Because I think it's just like, when she sees like, oh my God, us working together like this and, us syncing up, but also just like the different styles, like her style versus your style versus Cabo. It's like we're all dancing to the same thing, but we all bring a little something different. I think maybe that's what she's locking on to, when it comes like why dance is so amazing to her. So we see later on when it's, I think it's, what's it the vice president of the it's like Shiki, right? She's like watching them, specifically Cabo and Wanda, and obviously it's like Wanda is matching Meow to like the T, to the point she's like, you would almost not be able to tell whose routine it was originally. And even Cabo, she's like, and like, because other girls are like, the girls are talking like, oh yeah, Cabo's like, 1 second he's like, whoa, wait, what's going on? Like, we're supposed to go with this? And then the next moment, he's a really good dancer. And they're thinking, well, it's probably because he's got Wanda by his side. And it's like, even Shiki's like, initially she was thinking like, well, he's only tagging along with Wanda. But then she looks at him and she realizes like, there are moments where he kind of like making that like conscious choice to make his dancing loose, but then other times he's like reining in and kind of restricting it a bit and kind of like knowing when to do that. And it kind of shows like, oh, there's a little bit more to him than even she kind of initially wondered. And it's like, oh, so he's caught her eye just like he has like Meows and stuff. So another element to this episode is we catch up with Iori, and I guess we find out what he's mainly doing when he's not going to the club. He's entering like these dance battles. We also find out Iori's more of a, because I think there's some guy he was talking to was like, oh yeah, like you must be one of the best dancers. He's like, well, in Tokyo and Osaka, he's like, there's probably plenty of like really, really good dancers. But like the area from is like, it's a pretty small pull from, pull from. And he talks about how like a lot of people go the B-boy route and he prefers like house. That's kind of his. And even like, oh, do you not have a club at your school? And he's like, we do kind of, but, and I wonder if it's like, is that what Iori's whole shtick is? It's like the reason why he doesn't show up is because he doesn't think. And I kind of was wondering if that was the case. He might feel like he's above the club or something like that, thinking that he won't gain anything from it. It's like no one in the club is close enough to him, and he just feels like maybe he's so leagues above everything, or maybe he feels like the club is like for beginners and there's no real insight he'll gain from it. So he more so prefers the battles. And it's so interesting too, his process where he takes in all the aspects of the music first when he's listening to it. Then he casts everything he's heard aside and then he kind of listens to the music again and kind of goes from there. So it's kind of like, right, absorb everything, get your idea of it, then toss away that idea, then like listen to the music again and kind of go with it in that regard. So it's an interesting process that he has. Once again, I'm not the technical dancer. I'm sure I like someone from who's more technical with dancing and stuff probably can get a lot more from this to me. I hit it with the classic two-step and I keep it moving. I'm not the dancer type. It's just never been my thing. Probably like Cabo, I'm just very embarrassed. I feel like it's too late in life. It's like, it's never too late for someone to get up and, hit a little jig or whatever, But anyway, putting that aside, I think it's really fascinating too because Meow kind of approaches Cabo and Wanda about like, right, everyone wants their moment to shine, and she's suggesting adding a part to their routine, and it will be kind of a surprise is for Wanda like to kind of have her head split open and Cabo to kind of like slide under her and kind of teaching that. And Wanda envisions that moment and she gets super excited. She's like, Cabo, let's do it. It's really cute. And Cabo's nervous about it because he doesn't know if he'll be able to do it. And so I love that later on Meow goes over to Iori and takes off his headphones, and also like how she rearranges them in his head just to be playful. But she's bringing up like, oh yeah, Cabo, like yeah, he's this guy who's only been dancing for like 2 months, but it's like, oh, like when we enter the contest, people might mistake him for you. And it's like, oh, is this the guy that you were talking about? Is this guy the person you were talking about that's a really good dancer? And she's like, oh, you probably have to show up to the competition and tell. You're like, right. She's poking at him to catch his interest because I think Meow feels like this might be the opportunity, the thing that might inspire Iori and drag him back to the club. I think because they brought it up, was it last episode, about how Meow says that this is going to be the year that they're going to kill it. They're going to hit it, so... And I think she sees it as an opportunity just for the club in general to grow, but also like, right, that maybe she sees that Iori can gain something from this too, even though he feels like he won't, that this might be something interesting enough to grab his attention and bring him back to the club. So I thought that's fascinating. So it definitely, and I don't know if Iori realizes it, but she's definitely like, kind of like, kind of ushering him back to the club and trying to pique his interest in that regard. Because she's probably tried other things too. Because she knows what he's up to. Because she's like, oh, how did that battle go last week? And he was like, oh yeah, I won. It's like, okay, cool. So she knows what he's up to, but she probably knows like she needs something very specific to draw him in. And once she does, things might kind of click and fall into place. Some other avenues in this episode is Aoi. She's kind of nervous and feeling like she's not getting the entire routine down. And now she's nervous on like why she was chosen. Wanda's like, well, why don't we ask Meow herself? And so Aoi's initial takeaway is because I'm the tallest girl. You chose Wanda and Cabo. So like I'm kind of like meant to be like the balance, the middle ground between her on the shorter side, him on the taller side. But then Meow's like, I didn't choose solely based on like height and body type. She's like, sure, like longer arms, longer legs, sure, but she's also like, look at me, I'm on the shorter side. She's like, there's other facets to it, because she's like, when it comes to dancing, it's also about the feeling. And I think when she looks at Wanda and Cabo and Aoi, she sees like there's something in all of you, like the way you move, like the way when you have that feeling of the music, that's why you were chosen. So I thought that was interesting. And I think they do such a good job, because it's like, here's a character that like, I wonder will a lot of, and when you look on the Wikipedia, there's a long list of characters. None of them necessarily like, I think it's just the list of characters. They're not divided up on like main characters and stuff. But I feel like even characters that seem like, oh, will you get to spend time with them? Like the fact is, we know Aoi's name and they're making her part of the routine for the, as one of the 3 first years. It makes you go like, oh, we probably will get to really know a lot of the individuals in the club. Maybe not everyone, but there will be like, I think maybe it plays into like the connective tissue of what, this is. Oh yeah, because I forgot that's also something Yura is supposed to learn from this episode too. It was something Meow had told her, and it just clicked in my head about like, I was saying like, right, they have to work as a unit, and that's probably why you need to learn about these people individually and stuff. But the thing she was telling Meow is like, you need to not just focus on the individual parts, but the dance as a whole. It's kind of like seeing the forest for the tree type of thing. Like you focus on the smaller details and getting them right, and that's great and everything, but you also have to focus on the dance as a whole, like the flow of it, the rhythm of it, and the vibe of it, and the feeling of it, rather than just like, oh, these individual parts connecting, making a larger thing. It's like, sure, that's part of it, but the dance as a whole is a whole thing you have to like take note of as well. And that's something I think Yura, because of Wanda and Cabo, might take away from this situation as well. So, and finally Cabo and Iori end up running into each other, and even Iori's like, whoa, this guy's really tall. And then Cabo's like, oh, that must be Iori. He's like, I probably should say something, right? Because he's from the club too, so like, if I don't say anything and we run into each other later, that would be kind of awkward. It's like, oh, why did you say anything before? So he's like, well, I'll just whisper and say it lowly. He's like, hi, and he bows. But Iori didn't put his headphones back on in time and turns is like, oh, you must be from the club. Oh, you must be Cabo then. Once again, he's like the only other guy in the club. And Iori finds him fast and he's like, oh, oh, I've heard so much about you from Meow. Let's go check something out. So I'm curious to see where that goes next episode. Probably get some more insight into Iori. I get the feeling like he'll look at Cabo and see some interesting things, but he won't see like what's so spectacular about him the way like Meow kind of like bigs him up. But then maybe when it comes to the competition, he'll see something that vaguely interests him, and when he actually sees them as a whole, when it comes to the competition, that might be the spark to get him to come back. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out. I wonder, will the competition be next episode, or will it be like episode 6 or not? Maybe we could tee up the competition in episode 5, and then the proper like full competitions in episode 6. They also bring up like the rating system on like how they're being judged. It's like usually it's 5 adults, they're all professional dancers, but there's also might be like a sponsor or whatever that's sparked in there, and it's like, right, here are the point systems in which like they judge you on, and here's the things they judge you on, and it seems like it's like on a 10-point system. But she's also like, right, don't worry too much about that, just kind of go out there and essentially do your best. Like this competition, we don't need to bring down the house and win this contest. I don't think that's what she's worried about. She wants them to get accustomed, for one, to dancing in front of other people is kind of the whole point, but also like to get them a taste of it, because she even breaks it down. I thought was interesting. Once again, I'm not the technical person, so I never thought about like, right, like for example, she's like, when you're like on the sidelines, kind of I think waiting for your opportunity to pop in, is like make sure you're hidden enough off stage that someone in the audience can't turn and look at you, because you're caught if you've seen. But also it's like these increments on the stage where it's kind of like gives you like, all right, this and this for the format change, these are the markers. And I wonder, like, I mean, you probably have to like there's probably not going to be visuals. Maybe like while they're trial running stuff, sure, but like when it comes to the contest, there probably won't be those visible markers. But it's just kind of like marking it out. But I don't know if they'll actually even put the markers there even for training. But once again, just real technical stuff which I've never bothered thinking about, but I just think it's kind of interesting insight. I think I might not, I don't know if I've talked about it before, because my own experience is like, I've watched a few dance movies over the years, but even then that was like years and years ago, like your Step Ups, your Stomp the Yards type of situation. But like, I'm familiar with the movie Save the Last Dance, but I think I've only seen bits and pieces. I don't think I've ever seen all of it, but stuff like that, sure. But it's like, and once again, those have been years, and I don't remember how technical they get, but like, manga and anime really get technical about stuff. Like even like stuff that's like really grounded martial arts for the most part will get technical, but that's what anime do, like fighting and all that, and certain, sports things they get real technical about. So they will probably go into much more detail than maybe like a movie or TV show is. That's all I'm saying. So, but yeah, I've yammered on enough. Like I said, I'm excited to see where all this ends up taking us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.